to. The problem is that we are so kind of far behind on, like, it's almost like each time we're starting over. And I have this problem. Me and my wife talked about this. Like, I went to college and I graduated top of my class when I went to college. But my mom only told me to go to college.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I say it a lot.
I have not heard you say that in 5 years.
I heard it several times.
Yes, I graduated magna cum laude. And my mom really pushed me to go to college. But did she ask me what I wanted to do in college? Mm-hmm. She just thought, go to college. And I literally thought going to college was go there, get good grades, and the companies will be beating down their door for you. And that, we all know, that is not how it's happened. So I didn't understand about networking and marketing. Mm-hmm. So when I got out of college, I was more depressed because I was like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. What do I do now? I graduated top of my class and I'm still serving tables. Like, what do I do? And then we're not even talking about like debts that you're accumulating from it. Like, I went to a HBCU and I love my HBCU experience. I would do it all again.
Shout out Clark Atlanta.
Yep, to the Clark Atlanta University. But in saying that, if I would have understood like private school and public school, you know what I'm saying? Like, would I have made a different decision understanding the financial implications of that? Mm-hmm. And that's not something that we're taught. And I get mad and I'm talking to my wife about it. I'm just like, why didn't our parents teach us this? Why didn't they teach us this? Like, my wife's parents are pretty well off. They're doing really well. And I'm just like, why didn't they teach us? Why didn't they set us up with college funds account? And it was like, they didn't know.
They
didn't know.
Yeah.
And they literally did not know, so they can't. So now we have to do better for our kids. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's what kind of puts us behind. But now we have to be the generation that we're smart about financials. We're smart about businesses and jobs. Is it even, like you say, isn't even worth going to college? If you go to college, is it worth to get a master's degree? Because I have a master's degree and I feel like I wasted my money.
Yeah.
So is it even worth all those times? So we have to really look at our kids and our generation. And it made me think, of course, I said in almost every podcast episode, I have a son coming. And I always equate of how to teach him. So I was thinking like parenting, of how our upbringing and how we kind of came up and how that affects the stuff that we're talking about now. Because if we want these stuff, we want our own Wakanda. Mm-hmm. It starts with our kids and teaching them about the culture, about finances, and have them thinking of that mind frame to say that you don't have to only be an athlete or a rapper or an actor. There's all these other things that you can also be successful at. So I guess my first question to you guys is, how did your parents what was their parenting style for you guys? It's like nobody wants to get their parents in trouble.
I'll go first. That's fine. Well, to your point, as far as from the education side of it, I was never told about what it requires to go to college. I was just only told that I was supposed to go to college. So
that's so true.
Yeah. So to my surprise, when I found out about financial aid and FAFSA and all these items that had to be managed, that my mom in particular had no idea about. So when I remember my first day of going to school, I was handling all my FAFSA items and making sure everything was taken care of more than my mom. But to answer your question, I had a mom who was very strict, had a very specific goal in terms of her expectations for me and what was expected of me. I wasn't given the option of whether or not I could go to college. I was told that I was going to college. And to your point, Daryl, I wasn't taught in terms of what happens next. Once you finish,
Yeah, what do you do? But the problem is, we're like the first ones graduating, so they don't know. But what I want to ask you, when you went to college, like, did your mom ever ask you, like, what did you want to do when you were in college?
No, I was told, so that's an interesting story. I was told I was going to be a doctor. I wasn't, I didn't have the option, I remember from my kindergarten graduation that when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. And from that was stuck. So when I went to college, I was like, in high school, I was like, okay, so I'm supposed to be a doctor. So what is the easiest doctor I can become? That was my concept. I was like, okay, I can go into pharmacy. So then I decided to go into pharmacy, and I was actually a semester away from coming to Mercer School of Pharmacy when I decided to change my major to engineering. And it was because I was in college and I took that time to actually discover what I wanted to do. But as far as my mom being that motivator and telling me, or giving me those options, or telling me what you could or couldn't be, that wasn't really my story.
Yeah, that's funny because we have similar stories with my mom. Like, I was telling them that I was supposed to go to basketball camp this one summer. I was super excited about going. I brought home a B and my mom canceled it. And she was like, you're not going because you brought home a B. My mom cared about, because my mom was successful in school too, but she cared about the grades. Mm-hmm. But the one thing she didn't do was ask, what do you want to do when you're in college? So I took mass media arts. So the reason I went into that is because I went to a college tour in Savannah State. And they was like, they broke us up by majors. Mm-hmm. And they was like the undecided people, what do y'all want to do? And one of them said, you might like mass media arts, why don't you try that? And I said, okay.
Really?
And that's how I and that's how I got into it. But then when I was in, so I took that as a major at Clark, but then I started branching off to other things. Like my minor's in African American history. I started to understand that I really enjoyed, especially African American history. But also one of the biggest things is I took a calculus class.
Oh, okay.
And a guy comes up to me, the professor, he says, man, you probably should change your major to calculus. I didn't know what that meant, like what I could go with. I was like, why would I do that? Like, to be a teacher? I didn't understand like engineering and all that stuff going in. And that's because, and I felt like for my life, that was a major missed opportunity for me, because I do enjoy, now that I'm learning about cars and fixing cars, I do enjoy that aspect of it. But I feel like if I had somebody to nurture me,
right,
and help me discover that, instead of me discovering it at what, like 24, 25, and still have no idea kind of what it is. So what we kind of do now is, my daughter, she likes to, she's very creative. So she likes drawing, she likes telling stories. So I ask her questions, always ask her questions. She was like, she made the story with something about a cat, a mean cat. And I asked her, I was like, well, what makes a cat mean? And I asked her all these questions, and I'm saying you have to have a character that the audience can relate to. The audience can have a feel for. Mm-hmm. What should the audience feel for this character? Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to branch her thinking of it, because that's something we didn't do. So what's your story, EJ?
So my parents were completely different. Like as far as like styles themselves, my dad is probably the more calm, like relaxed one. But he has like this like fifth gear that will just keep going, and any second he'd go from 0 to ballistic. My mom is a lot like me, right? She's the most talkative one. She's the one that will definitely give you her opinion about what she feels in that moment. I think I get a lot of myself from that. So as far as college, the things that I was interested in were not the things that I was necessarily pushed in. So if I go back to when I was in high school and I was in middle school, I was like interested in like gymnastics. I was interested in artsy things, and I never was really pushed in that direction. In fact, when I started my gymnastics career, I was walking almost 2 miles to the gym, and I was paying for it myself with the job that I had.
Oh, wow.
So I wanted to do it so much that I took the initiative to kind of like push myself in that direction. So also, with college, they wanted me to go to college. I would have been the first person, not from my immediate family, because my older sister, she didn't live with us. She lived with our grandparents in Tennessee. She did go to college. She was like a lifetime college student, for real. Like she was almost, before her death, she was at her dissertation for PhD. So I was the first person in my immediate family that lived together to go to college and graduate. So there was this big push because neither of my parents finished college. My mom went for a little bit, and then she ended up dropping out. So there was a push to go to college. Like you said, there was no push in a direction to go. I kind of was told that what I wanted to look into, which was like fashion and design, was not a lucrative like opportunity. So I was pushed more into the medical field. So I started pre-med.
Oh, wow.
When I went into college, and I got all the way through most of the pre-med, and I was like, this is too much work. I don't feel like doing it. So I went into nursing, and I was right at the point where I should start nursing school because I did all my prerequisites, and I was like, I don't want to do all this. So then I went into healthcare administration, which is the same thing as what my mom is. So my mom was a lot of the push. She's a healthcare administrator, and so I did get a degree, an undergraduate degree, and then a graduate degree in healthcare administration. As far as in school, my grades were also pushed. I had decent grades. When I went to college, my grades were terrible. And so I actually got older and left and came back and finished, and they got better. But there was not a push at all. So a lot like you guys, where they saw my strengths, they should have pushed me. Mm-hmm. They didn't do that, and education was just not there. Like, I have so much student loan debt. It's crazy. So there's definitely opportunities in that front. So we're all similar kind of in that respect.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny that I think the main jobs they try to push is a lawyer and a doctor. So they pushed me to be a lawyer. So I took one lawyer class and I was like, man, I hate everything about this, man. So I dropped out at that realm out of one class. But I had an advisor, because my grades were so well in college. She was like, if you do this, this, and this, you can graduate early. And I was like, nope. Because
you don't know what you're gonna
I don't know what I was going to do when I graduated, so why would I ever do that? Like, no. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, literally, my last semester was like 2 classes. And they were BS classes, but I was like, I tried to kind of push it as well. Because when you're serving tables, people ask you, why are you here? And you at least say, I'm in school. So then when you stop taking that away, I had an actual one of my employees. They asked her that, like, what are you still doing here? And she had a degree in accounting, and she cried. She cried at the table because she's like, I don't know why I'm kind of here. Yeah, so it's like our parents just don't know. So I'm curious then. So what do you think our parents were kind of preparing us for? If they wasn't like they were trying to prepare us to go to school, but they wasn't really preparing us for school. What were they preparing us for? What do you think?
My mom was preparing me for a life that she believed that she didn't have, and she didn't know the steps to get to that life, but she at least knew that education could lead me in a direction of getting there.
Right.
So she knew that much, because. Yeah, when I sit back and think about it, in terms of all the research that I did, it was just all it was all me. It was all my mom only focused on the grades, and that was her only focus. And when it came, like, in terms of registration for ACT, SAT, as far as filling out applications to school, as far as making sure my financial aid and my awards letter was put in, that really was all me. And yeah, I mean, that just was the standard. I just even remember, similar to your story, Daryl, when I got a C in one of my classes. My mom actually sent me to this place where, I taught the other kids who were problem children. And
wow.
When we were literally in a circle, and I got the therapist at the time. He was saying, "So why are y'all here?" She's like, "Yeah, I had a fight with my grandma, and I hit my grandma in the face and all this, and she kicked me out, and I ran away from home. And I'm like, why are you here, sir? I got to sing in music." So
in music?
Yeah, that's what it was, something like that. But yeah, so I think that's what my mom was looking for. She was just pretty much looking for me to develop a life out that was better than the one that she was currently having. And ironically, me and my mom actually ended up graduating the same time, because when she moved out to Georgia, she ended up getting she already had a degree to be a dental assistant and substance abuse technician, but she got her bachelor's when she moved out here to Georgia. We ended up graduating the same time. So, but yeah, to answer your question, that was her motivation for me to have a better life than at the time she had.
Don't know how to get there, though.
Just didn't know how to get there at all.
Yeah, that's probably the same. Yeah. The consensus is that they know that it's tied to something, or that my parents knew that it was tied to a better life. They wanted better for myself, but just no clear understanding of what what the path
Yeah,
of the
what
journey
that
would
actually
be like.
is.
Yeah, my dad actually didn't get an opportunity to go to college. Like for him and his siblings, they were made to go into the military.
All right.
And I did try to do ROTC in college. Man, that's not my life. 5:55 a.m. formation.
It sounds like you were
not
very
my life.
clear and very understood what you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did, and I just had no push in like where the areas that I wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I almost went to the military. It was after college, and I was one of those times where I was depressed, and I was just like, I guess I'll do this. Like it was kind of, but it was never like.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to.
I can imagine you in the military.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to like imagine you in the military.
Yeah, I can't see
That's
it at
how-
all.
It'll be a whole different era.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's how kind of lost you are at that moment, because you really don't know what to do at this moment.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here a couple years. I've graduated. I have a master's degree, and I have no idea what to do. First of all, I have a MBA. I don't want to be in business. I mean, in business in a sense, because I hate corporate America. Now that I'm in corporate America, I hate it. I didn't want to be a part of it. So, but it's just no direction, man. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, they're teaching us kind of like they want you to be successful, but they're teaching you survival tactics, not really being successful because they don't know. And then when you actually get to the point where you get to the finish line in your educational process, nobody knows what to do because nobody has ever been here before.
Yeah.
Right.
So my question to you guys is, I'm a parent. Shara, you're talking about potentially being a parent.
Potentially, yeah.
Edward, you talked about you're off and on about being a parent.
Ask me tomorrow. It might be different.
Yeah, it might be different. If you guys, let's just say you guys have a kid on the way, right? What do you guys think, or have you guys discussed what your parenting style will kind of be?
Okay.
they pushing it
to go first again.
Yeah.
So, when I think about my life, and how it ended up, where success was defined as getting your education, getting married, and finding your home and having the 2.5 kids that you have.
2.5.
You know, the dogs.
Oh, the dog.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. Okay.
And although I don't have the kids portion of it, I did accomplish the go to school, get married, buy a home. So when I accomplished those goals, that's when I kind of got lost in a sense, because it's like, of course, what's next after you do, like, what is truly success once you achieve the things that you've been told success was. So with my children, I would be a lot open and probably pay attention a little bit more to what they seem to thrive at. Like if I see my kid have an interest in, building things, I would encourage them to probably, go toward the engineering realm. Or if they seem more artistic, I would try to encourage them in whatever arts that they seem like they're picking up with, and actually give them more of a vision of what they can have with their lives outside of manifesting those physical things, in terms of actually truly trying to figure out what gives you joy. And joy may not come from getting married. Joy may not come from buying the house that you believe is considered success, and actually really taking time to explore what truly makes you happy. And that could be being the richest person in the world, or just, being able to explore whatever arts or whatever you choose to explore. But I think the other half of it, which I did get from my mom, is that to be able to sustain yourself, even to pursue your dream and still be able to take care of yourself, in whatever way you need to be taken care of. So that would probably be the things that I would instill in my kids that probably wasn't instilled with me, in terms of, once you reach these goals, what's next in your stage of happiness?
Right. And this is not a knock to our parents. I don't want our parents to hear this and
Yeah,
think
I'm sorry,
that
Mama.
we're dissing them. But this is
It's just,
not enough.
you got to talk about these things if you want to improve in the future, right? So you have to talk about the opportunities, so that we can, make sure that we do a better job. So the missed opportunities are the things that we just need to make sure we discuss, and then, it's not a knock to them. They did the best that they could, the best that they knew how to do. I think as far as my parent style, when I have children, I think I would be more of the person that's kind of like open to talk to them, right? I want to make sure there's an open line of communication. I also want to give them resources, help them make good decisions. I want to be less of like an authoritative type of parent. I think for me, my parents kind of dictated a lot of my life. And I'm not saying I'm going to give freedom to the kids to do whatever they want to do, but I want to allow them to make decisions. And I want them to understand the consequences of their decisions. Right. So I think that sometimes we do need to shield kids from certain things, but we can't shield them so much that they can't get the concept of consequence.
Right.
I think as far as education, I think it's important, just like Morgan was saying, I will also want to push them in the areas that I feel like they naturally are kind of going toward, and they show interest in. And if that direction changes, I push them that way too. So that's kind of how I feel like I would want to be as a parent.
Yeah, in mine, I try to, like, whatever that roadmap is, I try to map it out the easiest for them. Like, going to college is fun. I think, first of all, I would never take my experience away from college. I love college, and I think college is, we push that for all our kids, but we're going to try to figure out the easiest map to kind of get there so they won't take on financial debt. They don't take on more classes than what they need to. And I also like what you said about the consequences of their actions. I want to save enough money for my college fund, for my kids' college fund, where they don't work for the first 2 years, because I think it's important to have that experience and also be able to make healthy mistakes. We don't want to make mistakes that are permanent, but we want to make healthy, because they should learn these mistakes and be able to learn from them. So having them to say that there's consequences to their actions and them actually learning it, and also giving them a roadmap to say, if you go down this road, these are the pros and cons of it. So if we go down this road, these are the pros and cons, and help them make a decision that's best for them, and hope and just to support them. The problem with kids, and y'all are going to laugh about this. Now, this is the issue with kids.
Oh, Lord.
The issue is you are dealing with people that if your friends acted the way they act, you would never speak to them. Like, you would have nothing to do with these people. So kids, they're selfish, they're spoiled, they think the world revolves around them. So sometimes as parents, it's very difficult to deal with these on a daily basis, because just think about your wife or significant other, friends, if they acted the way kids act, like,
you probably wouldn't be friends with them.
You wouldn't be friends with them, but these are the people that we have to have patience with and structure with, and responsibility. Teach them responsibility when they're probably kicking and screaming the entire way. So I wanted to